When we were in Balikpapan, I was at home in the camp, and the boss called me up, Mr. McCutcheon, sent me offshore to work for Union Oil Company, and I go out there, and it's a rig job, and the equipment that I worked on was called a wireline unit, and so we would use a spool of wire, which is like 20,000 foot long, and we would attach tools to the end of that wire, and we would run it down into the oil wells and do various things. And this particular time, the tool set down in the tubing much sooner than it was supposed to. And it was so shallow in the well that I couldn't use the hydraulic unit to manipulate the tools. So I got out and I got a hold of the wire by hand, and I would pull on the wire and I would slack off on it, pull and slack off, which is the method that you use in order to get stuff to move down in the well. And all of a sudden the tools fell through, and when it did, I had so much slack in the wire that I wouldn't let go because I was afraid the wire would break. So I held on to the wire, and there was so much slack in it that it pulled me across the deck of the drilling rig and shot me over into the drill pipe stand like an arrow out of a bow, right? So consequently, you know, when I hit the pipe, it skint me up pretty good, my nose, my chin, and I got up and I tried to walk back over to the living quarters. I got about halfway over, and I started feeling faint, so I laid down on the catwalk, and my helper, Indonesian guy, the smart son of a gun, he grabs me up and tries to wipe the blood off my chin with his dirty, greasy gloves still on. And I got him to leave me alone, and I got up and I got over. So they sent me to town, right, so I could get to a medic and get doctored up and kind of bruised up a little bit, right? And so I sat there for a few days, and they started calling me the Arrow. And so I'm sitting at the house, and a Sunday morning, my boss calls me, Mr. McCutcheon again. You need to go offshore right now. They need you to work on the platform right next to the rig where you just came from, right? So it's been like 3 days. I go back out there. It's a Sunday. They can't find any helpers. I go by myself. I'm supposed to have 2 helpers with me, but I am all by myself. Nobody to help me. So I'm doing all this work by myself. And I pulled the tools out of the well, and I had to break the tools down and reconfigure them and to run again. So I had them laying on the deck, and they're tight, pretty hard to break apart. So in order to break them apart, I got the wrench on the air up there, and I stepped on the wrench and kind of jump on it. And when I jumped on it, the tool broke loose, my feet slipped off the wrench, I threw my arm out to catch myself and broke my arm right at the wrist.
I remember that.
And so they send me to town again, and I go into the hospital, and the Indonesian doctors reset my arm, and that's been 35 years ago, and it's still crooked. Never did straighten out.
And what'd you do with your time off?
Well, I just worked around the shop for a couple of months.
You built us a swing set.
Yeah, I did. I built a swing set in the camp. I sure did. But anyways, after that episode, they started calling me Broken Arrow. And I couldn't shake that name for years and years and years until finally most of those guys died off. So. Anyways, you get these names that you don't want to really get, you know. But anyways, yeah. While I was hanging around the camp with a broken arm, I got with the maintenance man down there, and I bought pipe and chain and stuff, and I built a swing set and put in our yard for you and Doug.
That was the most exciting thing that happened at that camp. We sat out there and we watched the welders and we watched it put together, and the swings were wood, and he did 3 at 3 heights, one for me, one for Douglas, one for Laurie, who lived next door.
Yeah.
And the rule was if you wanted to swing in the swing, you had to help build it. Well, the only thing we could do was sand the wood, so we sanded that wood until we all got a chance. And then we got the watercolor paints and we painted them.
Yeah.
They did not put in anything for us in that camp. We had no playground. We had nothing.
Right.
So that swing set was a big deal.
I know, and it was in our yard.
It was in our
And
yard.
then when we started to move out, that following January, the boss's wife come by there and told me to move that swing set over to her yard for her kids. And I said, nope, I'm putting it out in the middle for everybody.
We had a vacant lot.
I moved it out in the vacant lot so everybody could have a swing set.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I built it and paid for it. Company didn't pay for it, and you ain't getting it.